Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Latoya Wells. I am Dr. Latoya Wells, Doctor of Nursing Practice, family nurse practitioner, and owner of Wells Legacy Health and Wellness. Welcome to the month of June. Welcome to Men's Month, Men's Health Month. In the month of June, we highlight all things men's health. I know last week we started off with a different topic that wasn't necessarily related to men's health, but it was in a sense. Um, but this month, the rest of the month, we will be highlighting all things men's health. So I want to take a moment to first say Happy Father's Day to all the men out there, whether you are a biological father, whether you are a bonus father, whether you play the role of a father in the life of someone, a child, what have you. I know I have my natural father, but I also have my godfather, and then he's no longer with us, but my uncle Melvin played a major role as a father figure in my life right alongside my dad. So I'm grateful for that, as well as other uncles who were in my life as I was growing up and even today. So just want to say welcome to Wellness Wednesday. This month, we will be highlighting, as I mentioned, all things men's health. And the theme for Men's Health 2024 is highlighting the empowerment of men prioritizing their wellness. So we are empowering men to prioritize their health and wellness. So again, welcome to Men's Health Month and welcome to Wells Legacy Health and Wellness Wednesday. When we talk about men, there's many different things that are specific to men that are not necessarily the case for women. There are some things that when we look at health screenings and things of that nature, there are some that are similar for both, but then there's others that are not. But again, we're focusing on men's health this month, so we're just going to dive into it. There are some important health screenings that every man should have. Early detection, as I mentioned, we like to be proactive versus reactive. If we are proactive, that means we're doing the things that we need ahead of time or in advance to make sure that we are on top of things, that if something comes up, we're already aware of it because we've gotten the screening done or we have a baseline for, let's just say we had a baseline EKG at the annual wellness exam last year. And then this year, when you go, they have something to be able to compare that to because you had one done the last year. But if you had not had one in the last year and there's some abnormalities, we don't necessarily have anything to compare to. The same holds true with blood work and things of that nature. So early detection is so important. For men, screening for high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, prostate cancer, and colorectal cancer are some of the things that we want to focus on. Primarily prostate cancer and colorectal cancer, because those are the things that are specific to men. We don't want you to wait until you have symptoms. Again, you want to get those regular checkups and you want to see your healthcare provider at least once a year for your physical exam. So when we talk about the health screenings, and I know we've talked about this before in a general sense, I can't remember. I have to go back and take a look at some of the Wellness Wednesdays from last year on how I, highlighted certain screenings for men this year or last year. But if I did last year, it's going to be some new information on a new day. Same information on a new day, but it's still important nonetheless. So at the age of 18 years old, we should be starting to monitor the blood pressure. Really younger than that. Whenever you go in for your physical exam, you should be having your blood pressure taken. And we take blood pressure in babies. We take blood pressure in little kids. And so at the age of 18 years old, you should be having that physical exam every year. And they should be checking the blood pressure at least every time you go for that visit, right? If there's anything that's abnormal, they're going to be checking it more frequently. We even have now, and I'm sure many of you know about this, you have machines, the blood pressure cuffs that you can check your blood pressure at home, and many times people will just buy them just because they're curious and want to know. Other times it's because someone is on a medication for high blood pressure, and their healthcare provider is wanting them to monitor their blood pressure. And so I'm an advocate for being proactive for our health. So if that means you checking your blood pressure every day just to see what your trend is, so that if anything changes, you are aware of that. The next one is cholesterol screening. Typically, we start screening cholesterol around the age of 18 as well. When you're doing your blood work, you're getting your blood work done every year on that physical exam. If there's something that's abnormal, we may want you to come back or repeat it more frequently. But typically, every year, we're checking the cholesterol levels. For prostate cancer, there's two different ways that we can check that. You have the PSA, which is blood work. That's a blood test that's ordered by your healthcare provider. And then there's the digital rectal exam. Your primary care provider may be able to do this in their office, or they may refer out to a urologist, but it should be a part of that annual physical exam where they're either doing the PSA or they're doing the digital rectal exam. And this usually starts around the age of 50. However, in some populations, for men who are at a greater risk for that, we may start those screenings a little earlier, around the age of 45. And if you have a family history, we may have to start those screenings a little earlier. But generally around 50, unless there's a high risk, being African American places an individual at high risk, or has a family history of prostate cancer, we will start those screenings around age 45 or earlier if there's any issues going on. So typically the prostate digital rectal exam is done every 1 to 2 years. And again, it just depends. The next one that we look for and that we want to recommend for all men is the colorectal screen and the colonoscopy, or the fecal occult blood testing. So there's several different ones. There are some that you can receive by your healthcare provider. Many insurance plans are sending these out to their insureds, and they're able to complete them and mail them back in. They're a little card that you get in the mail and gives you the instructions, and you collect the sample and send it back in by mail. That is the IFOBT kit. It's the fecal occult blood testing kit. And what it's looking for is occult blood, hidden blood within the stool. That's what that one looks for. And you'll usually do that one every 1 year. Every year you'll have that test, or we recommend that you have that one done. The next one is the Cologuard. The Cologuard is the other test that you can take at home, and you can collect the sample and send it back in. What Cologuard is looking for is it's looking for DNA cancer cells within the stool. There are some that also look for presence of blood, but it's looking at the DNA within the stool for any cancer cells or precancerous cells. So those are a little different. That one is done every 5 years. The next one is the colonoscopy. I just had a blank. Usually you'll get a colonoscopy between the age of 45 and 50. And when we talked about GI health and colorectal cancer month, I had a friend of mine, two individuals with me, who talked about the different screenings. So if you have any questions or you need more clarification on things, please let me know. DM me, reach out to us, send us a text message, 321-306-6755. That is our secure business line. It is HIPAA compliant. We can text back and forth on that to respond to questions if you have any. But you want to make sure you're getting that colonoscopy. Depending on your family history, you're going to start at between the age of 45 and 50. And then it's every 10 years if it's normal. Some research recently has changed to say every 5 years. But again, that's a conversation that you, your healthcare provider, and that GI specialist who you're seeing will determine how frequently you should get that the colonoscopy completed. Diabetic screening, so screening for diabetes. And again, this is something that is done almost yearly on blood work or yearly annual visit labs for anyone over the age of 18. If you meet certain criteria in terms of being obese, having a family history of diabetes, having certain signs and symptoms, we will get that test completed for you. But typically, the A1C is a test that looks at a 3-month history of the blood glucose levels, and then it gives us an average. So every year we should be having that done. And again, if you are diabetic, then we're going to check your A1C more frequently. We're going to have you check your blood glucose levels to see what they are, but we want to know what your baseline is. And so the earlier we start screening, the better, primarily if you have risk factors or if you have a predisposition to it because of a family history. Next thing that we should be doing, and this should be occurring again with every physical exam, is skin cancer screening. We should be doing a skin cancer screening every year at the physical exam. When you go in for your physical, you should be, that practitioner should, or that provider should have you take off all of your clothes. You're gonna be sitting in a cute little gown, or manly gown. Let me change that up, a manly gown. And we're looking at your skin. We're looking at the skin on the back. We're looking at the skin on your arms. And we're really taking a look to make sure if you have any moles, have they changed? Is there anything that looks suspicious or weird? We want to know that. And another way that you can do this is when you are home, if you have a significant other or partner or what have you, have them kind of take a look at your skin while you're, in the bath, or once you get out, just to look at the back where you can't see those areas, to make sure that there's nothing abnormal. Wear your sunscreen. Whether you're heavily melanated or not, sunscreen is so important. We got to make sure that we're taking care of our skin. And especially if you are someone who is out in the sun a lot, if you are someone who has a family history of skin cancer, and we don't necessarily hear about, or we didn't used to hear about skin cancer in the darker skin individuals, but it does happen. It does happen. Anyone who has skin can get skin cancer. So we want to make sure that we are checking our skin regularly. You're looking at the moles. You're doing that self-examination, seeing if there's any lesions on your skin that wasn't there, 2 months ago. And now it's, this little weird little bump or what have you is here, or this mole is changing in the size and the texture. And we want to make sure that you're getting those things checked out. Now, when it comes to men and their caloric needs, it will depend, and there's no cookie cutter standard for each person. Everybody is going to be different. However, there are many factors that impact that: the activity levels, the metabolic rate. If you are a male who is, very active and you can eat whatever you want and you don't necessarily gain weight, then you have a higher metabolism than someone else. So it just varies depending upon the person. But we do want to make sure that you are getting enough calories and that you are getting those good, healthy fruits and vegetables and grains within your diet. Protein is essential. And I know I'm someone that works out, and I didn't start looking at protein supplements until I started working out, because I felt like I needed to have more protein in my diet. But protein in and of itself is an essential building block for repairing tissues and supporting the immune system, and also for hormone production. So men generally need between 56 to 91 grams of protein per day. Again, I'm not a dietitian. I'm just kind of pulling from some resources that I have. So again, these are just guidelines. Anything that I'm mentioning are recommendations. If you're looking to change something or add something, make sure you're talking to your healthcare provider first to ensure that you don't have anything that's a contraindication to anything that I am recommending. The next thing is, apart from protein, is carbohydrates. We hear a lot of people, oh, I'm staying away from carbs. Carbs are actually good when they are included in your diet in moderation. So for men, the recommended daily intake is anywhere between 225 to 325 grams of carbohydrates per day. And we want to make sure that we're focusing on the whole grains, the fruits, the vegetables, the beans and the legumes, because those are the things that are going to add in the good carbohydrates. We want to stay away from anything, the white breads, the white rice, things of that nature. We want to look at whole grain versus, the others. The other one is fat. Fat is good for you when it's the right type of fat and it's in moderation. And I don't necessarily hear men talking about fat and things of that nature, but there are some who really have to monitor their intake because medications they're taking, where there could be a disease process that they're dealing with or what have you. But the healthy fats are so important for one, brain function, hormone production, and then absorbable fat soluble vitamins. We have vitamins that are absorbed better when it's in conjunction with fat within our body. And so it's so important that for men that you aim to have about 20 to 35% of your total daily calories come from fats. And we want to make sure there's different type of fat. So you want the unsaturated fats. Those are the good fats for you. Is the ones that are in nuts and seeds and avocado oil. Another dietary or nutritional component that's important for men and women, but as we're talking about men, because I'm finding that more men are dealing with constipation as they age, and so they begin to have some issues with that. So fiber is so important for your digestive health, and it can reduce heart issues and other chronic conditions, and also help with cholesterol. If we tend to increase the fiber, that fiber then grabs a hold of those bad fats and helps your body flush them out. So adult men should aim for about 38 grams of fiber per day. Things like fruit and vegetables, whole grains, the beans, legumes, and nuts are some good sources for the healthy fiber that you can intake in your diet. Some other things in terms of, like, I always get this question: what vitamins or minerals or nutrients should I be taking? If you are a person who eats the rainbow for your food and you eat a healthy meal that includes the protein, the carbohydrates, the starches, the veggies, the fruit, then you're essentially getting what you need in your diet. However, some individuals do have to supplement. And if you do, some of the things that we recommend, one is vitamin D. And again, before you start taking any supplements, I want to make sure that you are having those conversations with your healthcare provider. Vitamin D in the right amount can be very helpful for you. However, vitamin D in excess can be dangerous for your kidneys. So we recommend anywhere from 600 to 800 international units per day. And the vitamin D helps to, one, support the immune system and the bones, as well as several other body systems. Another thing is calcium. How much calcium are you taking in, whether it be from the milks, the dairy that you're intaking in your diet daily? We would like to see anywhere from 1,000 to about 1,200 milligrams of calcium to help support bone health. The next one is B12, vitamin B12. We hear so much about vitamin B12, but just look at the foods that you're eating to ensure that you're getting what you should. And one of the recommendations is about 2.4 micrograms per day to help with the nervous system and also your DNA function properly. Another one is iron, and we recommend about 8 milligrams of iron per day to help support and transport oxygen through the blood. And again, depending on your health, depending on, what you have going on medically, other medications that you're taking, these things may change. The next thing is vitamin zinc, or zinc is another thing. I know zinc became really popular during COVID, and some individuals continue to take their zinc. Again, have a conversation with your healthcare provider. But what zinc does is it helps with immune support, and it also helps with wound healing. The other factor when it comes to diet and things that we recommend is the right amount of water to make sure that you're staying hydrated. It is so important for our overall health and well-being that we are hydrated. And again, men should aim to drink about 3.7 liters. And this is just, some statistics. Make sure you're checking with your healthcare provider, because if you're an individual who has some issues with their heart, like congestive heart failure, you may be on a decreased water intake. So before you do anything, make sure that you're checking with your healthcare provider. When we talk about some other statistics or some other recommendations, is that we should be drinking about half of our weight in ounces each day in water. Some individuals say that they drink a gallon of water, whereas another person, that may be too much for them. And it's important for you to just do what works for you. What are some of the common health issues that men face? Prostate health is one, erectile dysfunction is another one, low testosterone. And we're going to do a whole segment on men's sexual health, because it's so important, and it's one topic that I've gotten asked about. And so I will make sure that I highlight it and we talk about those things. It's important that we have these tough conversations. We have the conversations that some may consider to be embarrassing, but we have so many men who are dealing with this. And it's so important that we talk about it and that men seek help and not suffer in silence, and become frustrated, and their partners are frustrated, what have you, because there's some issues going on. So let's figure out what the cause of it is, and let's see what we can do to help, right? And so it is so important that we encourage the men in our life to take care of themselves, and that we are there to help support them in their journey for helping themselves be healthier. It's so important. I have my notes over here and I'm trying to figure out why my screen isn't moving. Mental health is another issue that many men deal. So we want to make sure that we don't forget that. We talked about mental health in the month of May, but it's just as equally important for men. Men often face societal pressures, and that they have to be strong, and that, they can't show emotions. That is so not true. Um, I'm not gonna put my husband out there, but my husband is a very emotional man, and he's not afraid to show his emotion. And I think that is amazing, because he doesn't have to keep everything bottled up. Men don't have to keep everything bottled up. They can show emotions, and it doesn't mean that they're any less of a man if they do. Depression, anxiety, and suicide rates are alarmingly high in men, and it's because of the stigma that is they face, and the stigmas that are in the communities about men and mental health. And so we, as their support system, have to be there to support them, to allow them to know that they can reach out for help, that they have the support that they need, and that we're going to be there to, walk them through whatever it is that they're facing. So the stigmas, many men feel pressure to conform to traditional masculine norms and are discouraged from being vulnerable or expressing their emotions. And the stigma around mental health will prevent many men from seeking out the help that can save their lives and the lives of their family members. Just because if something happens to that man, it impacts the whole family. It impacts all of those around him that are connected to him. And so they experience a wide range of health issues, as I mentioned: depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and stress related conditions, because many men feel like they cannot express, or they can just deal with it, or they stuff it down and keep going. But as we mentioned here before, stress will begin to show up in our bodies, and it will start coming out in ways that are weird. Had someone who was dealing with some stress, and she was having some chest pain. All of the tests were done: echocardiogram. They did Holter monitor. They did all these tests on her heart, EKGs, electrophysiology studies, and nothing came up. And when she began to talk with someone about someone had the conversation with her about her life and the things that she has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, it was found that this individual was dealing with a high level of stress, and it was impacting her physical body. The impact of stress on men is different because men have unique stressors related to work, family, relationships, and then societal expectation. Men have a lot on their shoulders. And not that I'm taking away from the men, we all do, but men have different stressors, unique stressors that we can't, we, I couldn't understand the stressors that a man is dealing with because I'm not a man. But being a wife and being able to talk with my husband and allow him to know that I am a safe space for him. And many times that's what they need to know, is that they have a safe space and that they have someone that they can talk to, and they're not going to be judged about their feelings. They're not going to be shamed about the way that they think. And many times, because that's persistent stress and these unique stressors, they begin to develop and they exacerbate. And these men have many health issues because of it, and mental health disorders as well. So as a society, we have to rally around our men, and we have to make sure, one, that they are taking care of themselves as relates to their health, their physical bodies, and their mental health is so, so, so important. Allowing men to know that they have support and that we're there for them speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. Encouraging men to prioritize their mental health and seek help when needed is so crucial. And this may include challenging traditional norms and the way that men have been viewed for so many years and decades. I'm by far not a mental health provider, but having dealt with the medical aspect of individuals who have mental health issues, I think I know a little bit to be able to speak to it. And I just say there's so many resources that are available, and for physical health, for mental health, for men. As we begin to progress through the month of June, there are going to be some additional topics that we'll discuss, and some may not be as comfortable for some to listen to or watch, and that's okay. But it will be information that is so important because our men have to take care of themselves. This year for men's health, each year they have a theme for men's health, and this year the theme is let's make Men's Month a time for reflection, action, and empowerment. Together, we can break down barriers and create a healthier future for all men. And there's a saying that was included this year: give a man a fish, and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. The same can be said about health and well being. It's always impactful, meaningful, and personal when we teach others how to thrive in their day to day lives. And men should be thriving in their physical bodies, in their mental health as well. Because as healthcare providers and because as a community, we are rallying around them and ensuring that they have everything that they need to be able to advocate for themselves and to live a healthy life and leave a legacy of good health for those around them. So I'm going to close with this. Take care of the men in your life. For those of you who are fathers, who serve as father figures, happy Father's Day. Father's Day is Sunday, and that's the day where we highlight the men, not that we don't any other day, excuse me, or all throughout the year. But Father's Day is coming up and it's their day. Do something special for them. Let's celebrate the men. Let's make sure that they're doing what they need to do to be healthy and take care of themselves. Until next time, this is Dr. Latoya Wells with Wells Legacy Health and Wellness. Stay safe and be well.